decided to, or thought of, how about using a translation memory that has been prepared. I prepared it before. I put in it the Holy Quran and its translation, the Hadith and the translation, and all of those cliches or all of those introductions to Islamic expressions. Specifically, depending on the theory of the magic number 7. The theory of magic number 7 is a theory by Professor J. Miller, who says that the human mind can store automatically or in their short-term memory up to from 7 plus or minus 2 items, 7 or 2 plus or 2, 7 words or 7 items in a list, and you can retrieve them very quickly. So using that and using translation memory, I'm listening in the booth. I would start storing the first 2, 3 words in the hadith, in the ayah or in the Quran verse, or in the Islamic expression, and I start typing it or looking it up in the translation memory. And instead of interpreting it, I just read the accurate translation. So I have made an experiment to check things whether this is really applicable or not. I have had the experiment in the faculty of Al-Sun Ain Shams University. The subjects, they were 4 subjects, senior students at the faculty of Al-Sun. They were divided into 2 groups, a control group. That control group, they did not have any kind of help, they did not use any kind of help, whether documents or software. And the experimental group, they used WordFast Pro 3, which is they used the translation memory of WordFast Pro 3. They translated the Arafat speech, that was the Arafat speech of the last Hajj on 2018, and they translated only 15 minutes, the first 15 minutes of this speech. I just want to say a few numbers or a few things. In the 15 minutes, only 15 minutes, there were 31 Quran verses, 31 in 15 minutes, 7 hadith, and over 35 Islamic expressions in 15 minutes. So, what were the results of this experiment? In the Quran verses, the control group that did not use any kind of help, there were 0% accurate Quran verses. In the ones who used the translation memory, the accuracy reached up to 48%. And those, when they used other strategies, when they could not have accurate translation, they used other strategies like here approximation and paraphrase. And the ones who did not use any kind of help, 87% of their interpreting or of the target text or target translation was approximated. And only 45% of the translation of the interpreters or of the experimental group was only approximated. Omission, they omitted 12% or roughly 13% of the Quran verses, they were omitted. And only the experimental group, they have omitted 6.4%. In the hadith, 0% accurate for the control group, 43% accurate for the experimental group, 100% of the hadith, or all the hadith, the 8 hadith, they were approximated for the control group, and 54 only were approximated or paraphrased by the experimental group, 0% omission for both. The last one is the Islamic expressions. 14% only were accurate in the Islamic expressions, 78.6 were accurate by the experimental group, 28.6 were approximated by the control group, and only 21.4 were by the experimental group. 57% of the Islamic expressions, they were omitted by the control group, and 0% of any of the Islamic expressions, they were omitted by the experimental group. So, from this very small experiment, we can say that using translation memory in simultaneous interpreting, specifically in the Islamic discourse, we can say that of course it has its pros and cons. The first thing is it led to more accuracy in the interpreting and less approximation and paraphrase in the strategies of those hadith, Quran verses, and expressions, and almost no omission of the content. It had also some cons. The first thing is related to the Arabic language, specifically the Arabic diacritics or at-tashkil. We're talking about Quran. So in this case, I had to, in the experiment, to prepare the Quran verses in the translation memory without any diacritics. So I had, of course, to have double the time in preparation, which was a little bit problem. Also, even the subjects themselves, they had some problems in the Hamza. While typing, they couldn't find some of the results because they did not type some words without the Hamza, for example. And the Arabic typing speed, this is related to the subjects themselves. And of course, lots of people, unfortunately, their typing speed of the Arabic is a little bit slower than the other languages. So this is related to the subjects. And the experimental group, they have used another strategy, which is the delay strategy. Delay strategy is, instead of interpreting simultaneously at the same time, they have waited for maybe half a second while typing the first 2 or 3 words of the ayah or the verse or the hadith, and then they set the accurate interpreting. Or some of them at the very beginning of the hadith, for example, or the verse, they used approximation until they found they had the result, and then they continued the accurate interpreting. The last thing is the recommendations. For this for this paper is we need interpreter purpose designed programs. We need them. So specifically in what features? We need a feature that would help us in quick search. Like for example, in Interpret Bank, they offer that because you're working in simultaneous, so you just need to type the first 2 or 3 letters, and it automatically shows you the results, and it even deletes itself after. So you don't have, because this even, you typing the backspace, for us, this is a luxury that we cannot afford as interpreters. And which is automatic delete after a brief time. And we need something was also suggested, which is speech to text is a plus. This is something that would help us. Instead of texting or writing the word itself or the ayah itself, maybe an ASR feature, automatic speech recognition, would help us make it better. Instead of typing, I have it in front of my eyes, and then it may be, I'm talking about maybe it's a dream, it would automatically match with the translation memory and find it for me. So, these are the references in case anybody is interested. These are the references for this paper. And this is the QR code in case anybody is interested in having those slides. Just scan this QR code. And also I'm going to upload it on my Facebook page later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Yomna, for a very interesting, illuminating presentation. And now it is time for questions. Please, any questions for, yes, Isabel? Please present yourself. University of Al-Azhar, Ancient University. Um, Thank you very much for a very illuminating session. Dr. Dalal, I have a question for you. I know that Wikipedia can be very helpful for translators, but in the meantime, we have to be aware that in terms of research, it's not that much of a fine tool. For example, when my students in a poetry criticism class bring me references